Ida Ida and myself are super happy to see you here, and we actually choose the format that you will feel that you are with us in the W Lounge house, and there's so many things happening right now, and we wanted to really have a discussion that everyone are allowed to unmute the mic. You don't have to ask for a permission and just join with the question, because this time is actually for you. This is a collaboration between W Lounge, Becoming, and SIBB. And Ida, would you like to present yourself? And then we will let also Mario to present SIBB and their activity as well.
Yes, I would love to. So first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here. It's also great that Molly doesn't even need an introduction, because she is such a strong personality, and this is already kind of the first step of a great pitch, as you will find out. But yeah, my name is Ida. I'm the founder and CEO of Becoming. And the Becoming journey actually really started in 2019, when I was making my next career choice, and I knew that I wanted to support social startups to grow and succeed and kind of change the business world. And I went into Google and I just typed social entrepreneurship. And the only thing I got was an academic discussion about the definition of social entrepreneurship. And there is something that's so fundamentally broken about that. And I asked myself, why aren't there more companies out there that are just the social entrepreneurs that everyone in this space can be inspired by, and those big role model companies? And the thing is, of course they exist, but they're not big enough. Their voices are not big enough. So the purpose of Becoming, and why I'm building this company, is that we use marketing and branding and traction to help companies grow that have this vision for how they want to change their industries, or that have a social or environmental mission. And I know that a lot of you out there right now maybe don't have this particular focus, but in any case, there's so much to learn from how you can really position your ideas in a way that stands out and that really represents something new. So yeah, we help companies, especially in between the kind of startup and scale up stages, to really own their growth and to really take it to the next level in terms of not only using their product for impact, but also their voice and their brand. So if you at any point need to bounce ideas around that, or build on that, we're here for that. And you're gonna also, of course, have the opportunity to continue this conversation on LinkedIn or wherever you want, because as Molly said, this session is really for you. So I hope it will add a lot of context and value for you today to really talk through how you can ace a pitch and how you can take that to the next level.
Learn how to pitch. So actually, because you let me thought about this, so W Launch is a network, is an enabler, is a partner with SIBB. We open doors for capital, for mentorship, for accelerator venture capitals, and definitely also for growth. So the stage is yours, Mario, and we would love you to hear about SIBB in a sense of what are you doing, what are you offering, because a lot of the people that are today potentially don't know exactly the value of SIBB and would love to apply. Go without saying that Mario is the go-to person today. If you would like to hear everything and ask questions, we will have a Q&A time, but also you can apply directly to the program today. So Mario, the stage is yours.
Yes, thank you very much. Very happy to have you here, Marley and Ida. So a lot of experience in pitching, and as you know already, we are working together closely with W Launch and with Marley. Marley is a mentor already for the second time, I think, in the program. So very experienced also working with us together. And my role is in the SIBB, working mainly for the SIBB Accelerator Program, Startup Accelerator Program. So this is now, I think, the third round we are doing that. And yeah, just to jump in, I would like to give you an introduction video, show you that you get an impression what we are doing actually. And I'm also happy to see here known faces who are currently in the actual batch from us. So they can maybe share some experience.
They are the best ambassadors, Mario.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let me just jump into that. 1 second. All right. 1 second. I will also share next presentation. So. Okay, so as you have seen, our application phase is actually already open for the next batch, which will start in October already this year. So what are the basic conditions? So we are looking for 2 to 4 founders per team, which are getting 8 months of full-time support for their early stage startup. And each person individually gets 2,000 euros per month from us. So you can apply for the Startup Accelerator program until August 17th, 2022. And I will show later more the timeline. But I think this is one of the most important slides here, the preconditions. As mentioned already, early stage and pre-seed startups, we are looking for tech-oriented and based in Berlin. Innovative, of course, that's clear. And very important, also team individuals must be registered in Berlin. That's really a must. There's no way around we can do. So this is based on the preconditions from the European Social Fund and the Berlin Senate, who are funding the program actually. And you must have a university degree. Full-time committed, which means 40 hours a week, more or less, but you still have the possibility to do some side jobs beside. So we can talk about that if that's the case for you. And for foreigners outside of Europe, you must have an Aufenthaltstitel. If you have received already exist or other startup bonuses, unfortunately, that's an exclusion point. You cannot join if you got support like that already, because it's really an early stage program and a one-time opportunity, I must say as well. So really, you can just join this program once in a lifetime. Once you have done that, it's unfortunately not possible anymore. What we are especially looking for are women in tech. So it's definitely an advantage if you have women in your team. But I must say also, it's not a must-have. So we also had full men teams in the past, and no problem if your startup idea is really mind-blowing and is fitting into our program goals. So sustainability, city of the future, etc. So you're really having good chances to be part of the program. Yes, so basically that are the preconditions. And what we offer is now for the first time really a workspace. This is in Oranienplatz 4 now. It's a pretty cool place. We are still in the stage of providing everything, but I think the startups really profit from that, having this workspace. Since Corona, it was not so easy to provide that, but now it's really possible, and we are quite proud of that we have it. Then the participants will get individual support, so mentoring, trainings, whatever they really need to get progress personally, but also specifically with their startup. B2B connections is of course a very big asset from the SIBB, as we have 250 member companies around Berlin and Brandenburg. So we are looking to connect our startups with those companies, but also beyond that. So we have a wide network that we can tap into, also connecting with investors and business angels, etc. Funding, mentioned already, the 2,000 euros per month, so that you can maintain your life and can concentrate on developing your startup. And yeah, many more things. Maybe the others can also mention that who are in the program. The website, sibb.de/funding 2023. There you can find all information you need and the direct link to apply for the accelerator for the next year. Here, just briefly, the timeline. I think the most important date is really the August 17th. So this is the last day you can apply. You can hand in the form to apply for the accelerator, and August 21st is the deadline for the video. So that's the next step. So we have different steps in the application process. So once you pass the first, which is normally where we look if you really match the preconditions, like with a university degree, registered in Berlin, etc. Then you pass that step and you can send us a short video. And from there we go. So don't worry about the next steps. Those are mainly maybe too far ahead for now. Here you can directly scan, maybe good to do that now if you don't want to miss it. SIBB DE funding 2023. I think the most important link here in this presentation. We can also go back later. And second most important is our LinkedIn profile, newly set up. So you can also join us there. And there you will also get all information about the current batch, about the past batches, about events like this year, the information event, about other pitching events, etc. We will share everything on LinkedIn. So please be sure to follow us there so you don't miss anything. For example, this is an info event like what I'm doing now, but in an extended version where you can ask questions, meet people who already joined this accelerator program, and ask questions about the application process. And another hint, which we will also share on LinkedIn and other social media platforms. Startup co-founders matching also for the first time in person since we started this program. So you can join and meet other startups or startup founders and potentially match and apply for the Startup Accelerator Program 2022-23. Okay, that's so far from my side. If you have any further questions about the program, you can reach out directly to me.
Can you please put your email on the chat as well, so people just can take it? Great.
Yes, I will do that. And also my contact information is on the SIBB website, the link I was just sharing. So you can also call me, have a direct chat if you have specific questions, so no problem. Yep, okay, I will put my email in the chat and then just reach out to me. Okay, thank you very much.
For the presentation, I would like to add 2 things because you mentioned very clearly Berlin, which makes sense because it's the Berlin Senate and European Commission money, but we do have a lot of scenarios that founders moving to Berlin for the program. So you allowed to have address in Berlin for the time of the program. You don't have to become like a citizen of and changing a lot of status. The program is capable if you are here because the Senate wants you to enjoy the ecosystem. So very important to say that, as you mentioned, Mario, between 2 to 4 founders, which means maximum you can get access to 60K pre-validation, pre-seed, no equity, and definitely access to a lot of mentors and networks because there is a lot of events. And I'm saying this because potentially this is also my contribution to the program, because last version, we really wanted to become much more diverse. And diversity is not only women, exactly as you mentioned, Mario, it's diverse team because we just know they are performing better, and absolutely the team is really, I would say, functioning better as this is what we saw, this is what we learned.
Yeah,
so,
maybe
please.
Maybe stressing this point again about Berlin first. So you're right. So at the people who are going to start in the accelerator program just really have to be their Anmeldestatus or being registered here in Berlin from the beginning of October when the program starts. So that's the reason we have to provide this information, of course, and they have to be registered here. There's no way around, unfortunately, but also because we are having the workshops, most workshops in person, so that they really can connect with each other and profit from the direct interconnection with each other. Yeah.
So we do have like 1 or 2 minutes for a question. Anyone has a question specifically with Mario? I mean, we will have the time for Q&A, but if you have a question, please jump in. Just open your mic and tell us, and probably you have also on the chat. But if anyone wants the question to ask a question, just
Ali.
Yes, please.
I do not have a question, but an offer to make to those of you who are female co-founders at TIE Germany. And we also, as a nonprofit organization, offer similarly to what Mario SIBB does. We have a program where women entrepreneurs are pitching locally. The winner will be sent to GTEx in Dubai, and there can pitch globally against other 40 chapters worldwide. Those of you who would like to know more about TIE can connect with Mali or me, and that is very interesting, connects with coaching, mentoring, networking, funding, and so on and so forth. Global exposure, and more, if you're interested, connect with Mali or me.
So feel free to also add the information on the chat, David, and this is great to have you here. And if you have anything to contribute during the conversation as well, please jump in. So I believe without further ado, let's jump in.
Let's keep on this for just a second.
Please.
Yeah, let's jump in.
Yeah.
So we're really excited to move through all this with you. And as Molly has said, I'm just going to say it again because we really mean it. If you have questions or if something stands out to you and you want to dig into it, that's exactly why we're here. So put it in the chat, or, you know, actually just jump in with your mic. We're totally fine with that.
Exactly.
Please do.
Please don't be polite. Okay?
No, but actually also the first question I want to start this off with goes to all of you. If you can put in the chat, when you hear the word pitching, what comes up? What do you associate it with?
Yeah.
Just
in
drop
the
it.
chat. One word.
Opportunity. Like that. Selling. Okay,
Yes.
Interesting. Event. Ooh. Okay. In person. Growth. Contest. Okay, cool. Anyone else keep performance, confidence, investment?
I would say value.
Yeah, so this is very, very interesting.
Great.
I'm seeing some
Investment.
themes here.
Yeah.
On the one hand, the theme is around, you know, opportunity,
Confidence.
growth, chance.
Why?
Exactly. But then on the other hand, you have this kind of performance, selling, convincing. This is a different side of it. And at the same time, also the why. I don't know if you mean, why the hell am I doing this? Or it's the opportunity to give my why to the people. But, you know, that's definitely a part of it. So actually, what I did yesterday, I just went on Google. As you heard, I'm a fan of that. I went in and I checked what is the definition of pitching, just to make sure we're on the same page here. This is what Google said. So pitching is a form of words used when trying to persuade someone to buy or accept something. And we might have some problems here. So first one, words. Pitching is not just words. Pitching is everything you bring into a conversation with someone else where you're trying to make sense of a concept or an idea and connect it to that other person.
Someone said content, so content is the king.
Right.
Sure.
But for example, like I said, when Molly first didn't even feel the need to introduce that much behind W Launcher herself, it's because Molly has built such a presence in so many other ways that she's speaking far beyond any of the words that she's using. That's why it's important to know that pitching is not just about the words that you say. I'm a massive fan of words. I'm a professional communicator, but this is not all that is pitching. So Google has something wrong there. The other thing is persuade someone to buy. This came up in your words as well, the part about, you know, selling and all of that. The thing is, when you think about pitching in this way, it puts you completely separate from the person that you're pitching to, and it creates a power dynamic where you kind of need them to understand something that they don't understand, and it's your job to push that thing onto the other person. until they understand and until they're ready to buy or accept you. But the thing is, for example, in the context of a VC pitch, and Molly is the perfect one to talk about this, they need founders just as much as you need investment. And of course, sometimes, if you think about it as supply or demand, sometimes the investor has many, many founders to choose from, and you can start feeling this pressure. But at the end of the day, if you're pitching to an investor, they need the best possible pitch to be in that room. They need you. So what you actually need to do is to connect what's great about you and how that connects to their needs and their values in a way that is, as I keep using that word, it's all about connection, not just persuasion. And that puts you on a much more of an equal level to the person you're talking to. Or if you're trying to talk to someone who might work for you and you're building your team, this is also a form of a pitch. You really want to connect to their motivations and where they're going with their lives and kind of energize them, which is completely different than thinking about it only as persuading someone to accept you or persuading someone to buy.
I mean, Ida, it's really amazing, and this is very important and correct, but I want to say two things. First of all, venture capitals are not God. They are people, and they're also fundraising for themselves to be able to give back to their investors as revenues. But also I see Daniela and Jana here. Yesterday, we finished with W Launch, we finished the Female Angel Accelerator, and they are in the accelerators as female angels and started to get into this activity. And we talked exactly like this on how, when we see a pitch, how we actually have these red flags or these like green flags, like yes, yes, yes. And please, Jana and Daniela, if you want to jump in here as an angel investor, we would definitely will be happy to hear your feedback and your input on this, because the word, and eventually, yes, we are all selling. Sometimes we're selling ourselves, sometimes we're selling a product. It depends who we are talking with.
So of course that's part of it, but I just want to make sure we've talked about this before. And why am I saying all this? One of the things, whenever we work with startups, one of the things that shifts people's perspective the most is what I'm showing you right now. So I want to make sure that you've seen this. So in the marketing world, if you've done any kind of marketing, you might have come across these words. So you have different philosophies. One is the outbound, one is the inbound. The outbound is what traditional marketing is all about, and therefore also what traditional pitching is all about. So you approach people that don't know you. It's cold. You want to convince them in the short term to do something that they're not currently doing. And the aim of that is only to support your business or support your needs. So it's about gaining from that interaction. Whereas the inbound methodology, and this is much, much more modern, it's part of everything that we do. And by the way, if you're a B2B company, this is pretty much all you've got. But there, it's all about attracting the right people to you so that they come to you rather than you only coming to them. It's about coming in as an authority, which is something you've built over time, so that the trust is already there, and it's not just about the short-term convincing. And the aim of that is to, through all your interactions, whether it's with VCs or customers or talent, you're always aiming to offer something to that person that is genuinely useful in a way that keeps attracting them back to interact with you and to be a part of your story, your brand, and your company. And this is a fundamentally different way of thinking about it. And this is how we're going to be thinking about it mostly going on from here. So I want to make sure we're on the same page. Fantastic. All right. So there are definitely some more strategic questions. We're going to talk about kind of how to pitch, and Molly is a goddess in this area, so you're going to hear tons from her as well. I just want to say there are three kind of core questions you should be asking yourselves before you even go into it. First one is, why are you even pitching? Because, for example, in the words here, someone came up with the word feedback. And this is actually one reason to pitch, is because you're trying to learn, you're trying to get market feedback, you're trying to validate, you're trying to, get something that's only on the learning level. That's completely different than if you're pitching because you need that next 1 million.
I also liked what Anna mentioned. She said like chance. I mean, this is how you open doors. You cannot do it without any storytelling or be genuine in pitching.
Right. So whenever you communicate with anyone, you should have the very first element of strategy, which is, where's this all going? If you're aiming to learn, that will be a different approach. You'll be looking at for different things compared to if you're only going in there for the money. So make sure before you go into that room that you know what brings you there to begin with and why this is.
But it's also leading me to why are you pitching? We always said, if you want to go to your top 10 investors, or I would say top 5 investors, don't start with the top 1. go to others that maximum you failed because you're not perfectly ready, or you're not like you didn't have, or you don't have enough confidence right now because you didn't do it 100 times before, let's say. So the why are you pitching is also a big question, in a sense of like whom you are pitching, and then the why is also changing.
Exactly. And you know, the whole meta perspective of that is like, maybe in your first few pitches, why you are pitching is to learn how to pitch. Which means you should pick a different investor or a different stakeholder to pitch to in those moments, because you're on a different mission compared to when you're really going in for that next round.
And don't pitch to your friends, because they're biased and they will never give you you know, the right tip.
Your mom is always going to love it.
Yes. You're brilliant.
That's the principle behind that, for sure. Okay, so the other thing is, who are you pitching to? And this is essential.
Which I jumped in already.
Essential, because you're not going to be able to say exactly the same things if you're not pitching to the same group of people. Obviously, first step, research. So who are they actually? Who exactly, in the case of a VC, who exactly do they invest in? What is their portfolio like? What are their expertise areas that you will need? Homework. Yeah. That's on the level of content. So like, you know, where do you want to push different elements of your company or your vision or your story to connect to that person? But that's just the content level. Other than that, people are also different people, and they might require different things from you. So as an example, which you kind of touched upon, if you're rather pitching to potential employees and talent, probably they're going to need more of the visionary, energizing story. Just they want to feel from you that when they join, it's going to be a cool and crazy ride. Whereas when you're going into a VC and you're really trying to make a business case, there's going to be other talking points on the table. So make sure that you've aligned what you're saying to who it is that you're saying it to and what they really are looking for.
Also, another thing that if it's like business angel, which you are quite early in the process, you have to do some research about her, about him, because where is her passionate? You know, is she's into an impact? Is she into a green product? Is she into mobility? Read a lot about the background of the people that you're going to pitch, because I think this is a big building a bridge, as I said, building a chemistry with the person that you are actually approaching to, and willing to hear the yes eventually afterwards.
Yeah, and I mean, out of this session here today, I also want you to walk away with as much tangible stuff that you can use as possible. So I'm going to show you something that freaked Molly out yesterday.
Okay.
This is a plugin for LinkedIn that basically takes all the content that person has ever written. And
I would say raise your hand if you ever heard about this, because I'm sorry, I didn't, and this is brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, there are tons and tons of tools out there, so this is only one example, but I'm going to share you the link.
I didn't see it.
This is basically a plugin on LinkedIn where I just click the button, and then it tells me, when you talk to Molly, bring up these and these and these things. Do not bring up these and these and these things, because she's so interested in the bigger picture, in the vision, and the boldness of your idea. It's just like skip all the details until the very part where it's only about the details, and then back to the vision again. Whereas other times you do the same thing. I was talking to a couple of potential customers the other day, and they're both super detail oriented. And the types of questions I got from them, it was like on a different planet. So this is also to say, of course, do your homework on content, but do your homework on the person, and make sure that when you step into the room, you have already defined for yourself how you're going to read the room. Because the worst thing that can happen in any type of real communication, it always is two ways.
Yeah.
You need to read their face. You need to listen to their questions. Are they even asking you any questions? As soon as you've defined how you're going to read them and how you're going to kind of look for what makes them tick, the better you'll do.
Yeah.
So I'm going to share this tool with you so you have the...
I would like to embarrass some people here in the audience just to make like some reaction, okay? Because you're too polite, that's for sure. Daniela, can you open your camera? Would you like to join the discussion? Because I would love to also ask you on this, because when Ida showed me this, I said, okay, Daniela for sure knows about this, in a sense of like how you build your own business angel profile, and you build it into some point that there are do and don'ts for startup to approach you or not. So write me in the chat if you don't want to open the camera, because I would love to hear your feedback as well on this. Yeah, please, Ida.
Yeah, should we go ahead?
Yeah.
Okay, last question here. In the top 3 questions you should always ask beforehand. So what are you pitching? And now you're thinking, well, that's kind of besides the point, because obviously I'm pitching because I have a company or I have an idea. But there are some very, very common pitfalls when you think about this question that can lead you a little bit in the wrong direction, or maybe just lead you to miss some opportunities. Because the biggest mistake that I see startups making is that they are pitching a technology. That's not what you're pitching. You're pitching a vision for how what you're building is going to have an impact in your industry, in your customer groups. And maybe even more importantly, you are pitching the value of that. So essentially what you're trying to convey is the experience of using your product or service, and how that's going to be so incredibly irresistibly epic for the people using it, that of course people are going to want to buy it, and therefore of course I'm going to want to invest in it, or I'm going to want to be on the team, because this makes so much sense in terms of the value. So you're pitching an experience, you're pitching a vision, and you're pitching value. You're not pitching a technology.
And you're pitching yourself.
Yes.
Because you're supposed to be the best person to deliver.
Exactly. So what that usually means is that anything to do with features is what we tend to focus on, but what's actually the least relevant. I'm just going to show you this. I mean, this is a classic, and most of the startups hate seeing Apple because they're like, yeah, well, Apple is the best brand ever, and we're not going to be Apple. But there are a lot of things you can learn here. So they 100% outcompeted IBM. And if you just look at these old school ads that they first put out, IBM is going all in on the processors, the display is epic, you know, like all the different features of this laptop. Deep tech, you know, we're all here because we're focused on technology in one way or another. But then if you compare it to the Mac, yes, they have an epic display and a great user interface and all of these other things. But what they are really communicating here is that we are for a different type of person. This laptop is a lifestyle. This is not only a set of features. And the value that you get from this has an emotional benefit, not just a functional benefit. And then it's interesting on a completely different level, and it creates this feeling that you cannot compete with. Of course, anyone can compete with the Apple laptop, but no one can compete with the Apple brand. And you need to be thinking this way from the very, very beginning.
So let's be concrete for a second. Anne and Bailey, can you open your camera and your mic, sorry, for a second? Because you have a brilliant product and it's not easy to make it an Apple, okay? But maybe elevator pitch, try to describe why you are taking the Apple part in this screen, why it's different and so much needed. But to be honest, why your product is so sexy to use, and it's not the platform, it's something else. So maybe you can take like 1 minute and share with the audience about it.
Anna, you or me? You can go. Oh, yes, as Mari said, we are building a platform, but that's not the most interesting part. The interesting part is that we create a community-centered product. So we onboard doc services, and with these doc services, they automatically onboard their customer as another community. This community will like book for other pet services and make other pet owners join this community. So it will like grow organically with a lot of benefits, with a lot of usage. So we really want to disrupt the whole pet industry with this product.
Mm-hmm. Bailey.
To add, I would say it's something about pet parenthood. So making, bringing people their village, bringing pet parents their village, because they're missing the help that they need. So empowering pet parents to be the best parents they can possibly be to their furry friends.
So you actually want to say, I don't care about the technology, everyone can build a platform, but us, we are the Apple of it, because we make it digital, very sexy, very unique, very, very touchable and accessible for the pet owners. And this is your pitch when it's not about the technology, it's about the user, I would say, even like infrastructure and how you're supposed to look at this. You build a vision in their minds what it is.
What I'm also hearing you say, which is super, super relevant, is, maybe you didn't mention it, but I can hear it in what you said. It's also connecting to a very important trend, which is that in general, in a digitalized, individualized Western world, which I assume is your core markets right now, we are more and more separated from each other, and we're having less and less support in any of the most difficult endeavors you can have, most of which is being a parent. Everyone knows that sucks. It's super difficult. You need a tribe to solve it, and pet parenting is no different. But right now, this loneliness and this separation means that you don't get any of the support that you can expect when you become a new parent. And it's no different for pets. And you're building the platform that creates that community for these pet parents to finally belong and finally get the support that they need. And now I'm like, oh, yes, okay, I get the emotional benefit of
So
this.
you're the queen of the storytelling. And I see Anna is writing everything, which is amazing. But that's exactly it is.
Like always.
But that's exactly the best takeaways. No one cares about how you build it and how your CTO is actually going to do it. Yes, it's important maybe for the investors to know that you are really a good executors and for how much time it's going to take. But the story, make yourself thinking differently, actually, be different, shine over your competitor out there. I think that's coming back to the storytelling.
Of course, yeah. So for example, I just want to show you, because it's always more helpful to see the real world examples. So when Dropbox were super young, I have two things to say about this slide. One is...
Not my office.
We're better than that. No, but definitely, first of all, this is an experience. You look at this and you already feel bad. And this is like very, very beginning of their pitch. And it's really connecting to me already feeling stressed about it. And also it's super simple. They're just saying like, storage is a mess. Yes, it is. And they're not making it any more complicated than what it is. Another thing to say about this is whenever we think about brand and we think about Apple and all of that stuff, we start thinking, oh, well, now we have to have a perfect visual identity. Every design needs to be perfect, needs to have a perfect logo. I mean, look at this. This is really not advanced, but this is still a brand because Dropbox is all about simplicity. So they only picked 4 words for their headlines. They only picked a picture. That's the brand. It's not the visual identity. It's how you tell the story and it's what you stand for. And this is a very, very effective way of doing it. And I'm going to send you a link to a bunch of different pitch decks from these super big unicorns when they were early, just to say like, it's amazing. And
like
this
Uber
is,
and
Airbnb and all
Airbnb,
of those.
exactly.
They're ugly. They get straight to the point. Here is also,
and we're the best. We're the number one. Yeah,
but very much visionary. Look, they're actually only speaking to the pain points. Like, what are people suffering from? And in a perfect world, what's the difference? And what is Dropbox doing that is creating this perfect world? So it's nothing like we have 1 gigabyte of storage per initial user per week, and we also have great servers. No, it's really the pain point and how that contributes to a perfect world for their user. Which is a completely different way of approaching a pitch. So yeah, let's dive into how do you actually do this stuff then.
We talked about big. Now, like, let's go to
let's
really
get into it.
Do and don't and instruction.
So Molly, maybe you want to take us through this.
So what we've built together with venture capitals, partners in W Lounge, and actually with ourselves inside the team, we build a leadership language, and the language is like the SDG for the impact for sustainability. Suddenly, startups and investors know how to say, okay, what is the impact in your product? And they say number 5, number 3, number 2. There is a language that everyone have like the same. We set the bar. So we are setting the bar when it comes to you as founder, you as a leader, even like as a corporate leader or like entrepreneur, you have to adapt to yourself a language that you can measure it. And one of the most important things, this is how I always address that, you enter the room, you have 5, doesn't matter, women, guys, doesn't matter right now, people that you need to pitch them. So it's begin, of course, how you look, how you dress, how you talk. Let's put it aside for a second, because it's always business development and personal development. You need to get ready. And if you get a yes, you kill the room. This is how I call it. You kill the room in a sense of like, you get your show, not because you just said the same or the right wording, because you give yourself, you get the chemistry. You talked really about the pain point from your own perspective, from your own pain point that actually driving a new business and a new mission. So just kind of like a quickie, We will go through it quite fast, but we will talk about this as the storytelling, the impact, the sustainability, and also I will bring the investor's perspective into it. And please don't be polite. Again, open your mic if you want to have questions, because if you're just listening, you're like a passive learner, okay? Jump into the discussion, take the best out of it. Yeah.
And Molly, I should just say, because I've gone through this whole WDL, their leadership experience also myself back in the day, and like the voice and the grabbing the mic and just getting out there and even taking opportunities that you wouldn't think were opportunities to pitch, that's in itself
You don't know what is coming.
one of the great first steps to do. So yeah, between all of these icons, I'm like obsessed with flow and structure, and I realized that some of these different skills, they kind of build on each other chronologically. So we're going to go through it from Molly's perspective and also from mine.
Would you like to start?
Sure.
Voice. Yeah.
Voice. So this is where it begins. Voice is kind of how you are coming across in your industry. And this is what happens outside of any room. So this is you on LinkedIn. And this is you in conferences, and this is you in any other format.
Also in the room with the team, to be honest.
Sure. But like this even begins before the pitch. If you don't have any voice in your industry or around the kind of topics that you're tackling, it's already a downside and a little bit suspicious. And I mean, you can speak to that as an investor.
I would say if you don't have a voice and you're pitching a startup, for me as a person, but also as a fund, if I never heard about you, it's already a bad sign. If you never put some articles on your own LinkedIn, if you never be an activist in what you're doing, it's not a good sign. I mean, I will maybe postpone that. I will maybe say, come back when you're ready. Or I will maybe give it a time with the understanding that it's from being polite. So it depends how much time I have, but it's not the right thing. This is the message here. You have to build yourself a voice in the industry. So if you want to go for an industry that it's automobility, that it's green tech, you start to write articles, you start to go for a group, you communicate with a network, you're doing things that leveling up what you're doing by being a speaker, being a driver, and in this industry. And if you shy away and not opening your mic, you're actually missing opportunities. Because once you put yourself on stage, and by all means put yourself on stage, you build your personality. You know, you breathing and say, I can do it, I'm doing this. So the first time is harder, but the second is walk in the park, and the third is like, okay, let's do it. You can talk about your pitch, you know, even if like in the middle of the night. And that's the goal. Very successful founders, that's the mindset they are bringing in, you know. People talking with you and telling you, hey, would you like to join this panel? Would you like to bring your feedback and idea, write article? Yes, 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 yes. Always yes to open doors, because you open a business opportunity for yourself and raising your voice.
And what I will also say, because I'm conscious here also that there are a lot of tech founders, and I don't want to generalize in any way, I can just say from my experience, actually regardless of the industry, there are also founders that feel like I'm not a stage personality. Yeah. I'm made to be a CTO and I want to work on the technology. I don't really care about the stages. And I will also say that in terms of building your voice, it's not only through the external communications of, you know, the LinkedIns and the stages and the conferences and whatever. It's actually also building really strategic partnerships where, for example, if you're collaborating with some of the key thought leaders and stakeholders where they have the voice in your industry, then by the fact that they know you, they're talking about you, which means the investor has already heard about you. So this again is kind of the strategy question you need to create. It's like, okay, I need to be known somehow before I step in there. What are my options? And it's never just one option.
Yeah. And please,
I have one question there. So do you have any tips? I guess the first or the most difficult part would be to get on the first stage if you want to be on stage. Apart from writing articles on LinkedIn and building your own brand, basically, do you have any tips how you get the first step into the door and get the stage?
First of all, Ursula, I know you also can give tips, and I'm happy to hear you as well. But on the same time, you know, the tip of having a voice and being very concrete and saying write articles. It's not by the definition of writing articles, because then people understand what are you focusing at and where are your strengths and what is the added value you bring. And then I totally agree with you. You said like the first opportunity, you know, to grab the first opportunity to get the stage. But this is why communities are there, you know. Startup cannot be successful and grow without the right environment, ecosystem, capital, people been there, done that, investors, founders that already built successful company and can lead the way for them, and also supporting young, I would say, or early stage startups and put them on stage. And thank God we're living in Germany, in Europe. There is a lot of opportunity, a lot of networks. And you should be one of those that you feel very much related, as Ida mentioned, to the values, to the people, and grab the opportunity and even ask for it. You know, I'm searching to be on stage with my topic. I'm building a disruption technology, and I would love to disrupt the HR industry. Can I be a speaker? Absolutely. That the go-getter, the hustler, is a blessing for successful entrepreneurs.
May I add, Mali, here to Ursula, that you can also look or search for hubs, accelerators, business angels and such, and ask them if you get an opportunity, like you get with us at TIE Germany. You can approach us, and it's free of cost, of course, like to make advertisement for us, non-profit organization. But you can approach us and say, I would like to learn how to pitch and how to pitch at your programs, and we'll be gladly doing that.
Yeah, yes, David, exactly. But you also have SIBB here, and go without saying.
Of course.
Because the SIBB, you know, giving you the capital, nurturing you with the network, but eventually running a lot of events. So you can start with a smaller version and grow from that, you know. So I agree, the first opportunity is the most important, and you need to learn how to, I mean, also as a kid, you know, we learn how to take the toy, and we learn how to lead, you know. It's the same here.
I would also just build on what Mali says. I can only tell you that you'd be amazed at how many people aren't asking for help.
Yes.
So when you do get a request, it actually stands out. The first time I met Mali, well, actually, I wrote her on LinkedIn and I was like, hey, heard about you. This sounds great. Can we have a call? And we did. And now we're collaborating years later. And Mali was like, well, what the hell? This person's just writing to me. She must be on
the
something.
way you wrote me was different. Okay, it's also it's not.
Yeah, of course.
Exactly. You had this intelligent, you know, not to be pushy, but on the same time to say, hey, we're speaking about the same values. I would love to exchange. You remember?
Okay, but actually, what I will do when someone here is asking another question, I'm gonna go into my LinkedIn and find the message and paste it in the chat.
Yes.
And just like ask people. So if it's ahead of a certain topic at a conference, if you just reach out and talk to the person, you'd be amazed. Like some of these opportunities really just come from asking for it.
Yeah. And you know what? I want to throw some candies here, because to be honest, in June, we have the We Are Developers. It's the biggest congress for developers and startups, corporates. They are bringing the biggest names. I'm sitting in the advisory, and we are actually building the agenda. So approach me if you want to pitch and to talk there. And we're going to have a startup stage as well. And then we have the startup night in September, which is the Deutsche Telekom biggest conference in Germany, focusing on a lot of diversity, focusing about corporate startups. I mean, there are opportunities that the network, I would say, specifically our network, are offering. So just ping us a message if you really want to take it forward, and what are the topics you want to talk about. And go without saying, it's maybe my responsibility to mention every time I'm approaching guys, yes, Mali, I'm coming. A lot of women, not lately, because, you know, we already grew up in this. I'm not sure I'm expert. I'm not sure I can be on stage with this. I'm not sure I'm ready. All of this. So some of them I'm kicking their ass because they are brilliant and they have so much to give. After the first time they become brilliant, and then look at them after 2-3 years, you know? So Ursula, your question is really onto the point. The first time is the hardest, but it's not supposed to be hard if you have the right people around you.
I will say I just found the message and I realized there was also a mutual connection that told me about Mali, but actually I've sent the same
What is
message
it?
without a person and it worked. So I'm just gonna send it to you, use it freely. It's all about the balance between letting the person not respond if they don't want to, but at the same time being super clear about the connections.
Do you
that
have the
have.
date? Do you have the date?
I can look it up. It was a
Oh
while
my
ago.
God. Okay, we're
Anyway,
getting deeper here.
We're digging here, but I
Yeah.
want to make this as concrete as possible for you.
It's amazing, by the way. You see, like I can reflect. I'm getting a lot of emails, a lot of cold notes, but Ida was like, what can I say? Very gentle on the right time, but very genuine. You know, very clear what I want, what I'm expecting, and let's talk.
By the way, when I showed you the outbound, inbound, the outbound approach to this would be, I want to be on your stage. When can I speak? The inbound approach is, I really want to follow you because I care about your topics and actually it might really add some value to me. And the fact that I'm saying that is adding some value to Mali because now she feels like, well, maybe all the stuff I'm doing, it really goes somewhere and like people care about this stuff. And you don't underestimate that because when people are also quite powerful, they're not used to hearing or understanding the impact that they have or like really feeling that genuine connection. And if you feel a genuine connection and it truly is genuine, that's great for both sides. So it's always this thing that you have more to offer than you think you do, as long as you do it in a respectful way where you're also taking the other person's needs into account.
Very good point.
All right.
Should we move on?
Let's move on. Attitude.
Oh,
You have
that's
the best
most
stories
important
here.
things, huh?
You have the best
I
stories.
mean, attitude is your voice, attitude is your wording, attitude is everything. You know, I open the camera, what do you think about me? I'm just kind of like jumping in the camera or like I'm sitting like, hello everyone, I'm super happy to have you today. I want 5 million euro for my, for my startup. Like it's the attitude, okay? You bring your energy. People want to work with you because investment is like marriage. And actually someone said it yesterday, Tobias. He said like the average marriage time in Germany is shortened than the average of the relationship between investors and startups. So just for you to understand the deep relationship when investors are investing in you, they like you. They want to jump into your journey and to be part of it because they trust you and they want to, what can I say, escort you through the journey. So the attitude is everything. And on the same time, those founders that, stepping into the room or sending email, I mean, we talk about the approach and say like, listen, we're closing the round, end of the month, it's the FOMO, it's again, don't push me, I'm already out. I'm not playing this game. But potentially they're brilliant. Potentially I'm missing an opportunity myself. But the attitude is a game changer. If you learn how to work with people, it's for everything. Yes, go without saying, pitching for strangers that you want them to become your family. I mean, it's that big in a sense of if you have the right attitude, you will, what can I say? You control the game because it's a game.
Yeah. And also, what I really love, you have to tell the story about the woman who was pregnant.
Oh, that's good. She's actually today at the event, but she's a very good friend of mine. She made an IPO. She's actually Israeli, and she was 9 months pregnant. And it was in Tel Aviv. It was super hot day, like almost every day. And she went to a room, and it was 5 guys, venture capitals. It was her first startup. And she entered the room, and she was like, oh my God, it's so hot, and like a huge belly. And they said, would you like a cup of water? And she said, no, I want $5 million. And she get that. And look at her today. She made an IPO. She is brilliant and super successful today. And that's its attitude. I know what I'm here for. And it's another discussion that I don't want to touch right now, but it's also irrelevant questions. This is how you kill irrelevant questions. They sometimes make you feel smaller, not ready, not confident enough. When you have the right attitude, no one will dare to ask you those dirty questions, okay? And I'm talking about this as a woman for a second, if you approach investors.
And I think one really important thing to say as well is like, again, if we pull it back to just thinking about brand, and someone just mentioned like the personal brand and the scope of voice and whatever, like brand is about the core of a person or the core of a company. Sometimes that's the same because it's the founders also infusing themselves in the company.
It is the same.
Yeah, it's the same. So it's about the values that underpin that company, that endeavor, and it's very unique to that person and to that company. So just because attitude is important doesn't mean that everyone should be like a complete, like knock down the door kind of here I am type of attitude. There's not just one attitude, but it's about really knowing yourself and bringing yourself in how you want to be, so that you're not already undermining yourself before you start talking. And in that way, it's about genuine confidence. And confidence is not looking one and the same. It's about really knowing yourself and standing for that and being secure in yourself in the room. And this is what everyone reads just on a human level in the first few seconds of you being on a call or in the room, before you open your mouth. And this is why pitching is not only words, right? It's really so many other things.
This is very interesting. And I want to give you a big tip right now. I was for 2 weeks in Brussels for a jury for the Horizon 2020 European Commission Fund. And the biggest learning was there are some teams that they are standing in front of us, 3 people, and you see only one person in the middle talking. Then you see the cap table, he owns 90% of the company. And every question is answering. And the other 2, so-called CFO, CTO, nothing. So attitude is also be a player, a team player. When you pitch, make sure that each one of the team has his own attitude and his own presence, because it's showing your attitude. You're not like one man show, which is catastrophe for a company, and it's showing that you're a team player, because it's all about the team and it's all about the attitude that you bring in as a team, the way you work together.
Yes, exactly. So keep the questions coming. I think we're just gonna move
fantastic,
on,
fantastic.
quickly. Okay, so this is actually my most important takeaway, I think.
Go for it.
When you start a pitch, this goes back to what are you pitching? It's very, very, very tempting to start with what exactly it is you're building in terms of the product or the technology that underpins it. But if you really want to hook someone, and this is purely on a human level, as Molly said, it's all about the storytelling. And usually there are 2 things you first need to talk about before you go into the actual concrete stuff you're building. First thing is your unique insight that started the company. And usually it can be connected to a trend or something you noticed in your experience where you realized, wait, something is wrong here. So for example, in the pet example that we just heard, this loneliness epidemic is a part of the inside of why this company exists. If you didn't know that people were lonely, the company would make no sense. And this is like the very first logical step that makes people feel like, oh yeah, this I also see. Or for me, it was like, where are all the social entrepreneurs? There are no role models in this space. And now, maybe now we have Patagonia and we have like a few, but where are they really? And like, without this insight, my company would make no sense. So it's always like, what's the first unique insight that made this company happen? And the second thing is, what is your vision for what's going to change when this gets solved? So what happens when people are no longer lonely anymore in their daily life and the way they care for their pets? I mean, you tell me. Or what happens when suddenly there's a role model in every single industry for how business can be done differently? Obviously, the business world is going to change. And if the whole business world moves towards social and environmental responsibility, we're going to have a completely different world in total. And of course, that's massive. And that's why at the next step, you have to be like, okay, I know what you're thinking. This is nice, but here's the product and here's how we're doing it. It's just that when you put people in with this bigger picture, they immediately know what you're talking about. They already have an emotion to what you're trying to build. And this sets a much bigger and better foundation for everything you're going to pitch after that.
Fantastic. And to be honest, think about this, your vision. Why the hell you taking the risk and you're building a company? This is supposed to be your dream come true, your mission and your vision, which means, like, as we always said, impact, excellence, and implementation. Implementation is how much you're already in the market. What are you planning to do? The go-to-market strategy, the impact. Is it a financial impact? Is it a social impact? What is it? Who are the target group that you're going to change their life with? And go without saying that we as a team, we have a vision, because this is our pain point as we talk, and this is how we're going to solve it. So the storytelling is very, very clear.
Yeah. So really, it's usually, it's not the case that most founders don't have a vision. It's just that the way you structured it in your order is way too late.
And the way you describe it. I mean, again, it's
Yeah.
Should we
And
move on?
if anyone, we can move on, but if anyone needs clarification on the
it's fine.
whole mission, vision, purpose difference, that's also, that's a different story, and I'm happy to help with that. Yeah. So after that, you have your vision. There's another thing you have to show, and that's that you actually are someone that's going to have a significant impact. So you are actually, your insight and your way of approaching it and your vision is different enough to be big enough to be really exciting to this person that you're talking to.
Is it really making a difference? Is it really disruptive, or it's another nice to have product? This is very important. Investors, I would say, are not stupid. Definitely when they see hundreds of pitching, those things that you mentioned, we are going to change, we're going to impact, we're going to whatever, it has to be backed with facts, with numbers, with time.
So it's all about, I mean, the other thing I will say here is that one thing that I often see founders miss out on, especially if you do have a social or environmental impact in the core of your company, is that you don't talk enough about your point of view on how things should be disrupted or how things should be different, because clearly there's a reason why you're wanting things to change and why you're building this platform or whatever it is you're building. So if you can really speak to the impact that that will have in terms of when people are using this product, the way their lives will change looks like this, and the way the industry will change as a result of that looks like this. And the best picture case scenario, you will even build a new market or build a new category around the product that you have created, which of course is like the next level of marketing. And this is complex, and you know, we love doing that stuff, but anyway, it's a different story. But it really shows a much, much bigger potential compared to, there aren't enough turquoise t-shirts in the world, and we have designed the best turquoise t-shirt ever. This has no disruptive impact. And it's so important how you position that.
And this is very interesting because, first of all, last week I heard H&M talking about sustainability, which at the moment is like, yeah, come on. But at some point I get the message in terms of where they see themselves in 10 years. So it has to be convincing, you know, how you get really going to disrupt market. And the second thing, let's take crazy example. Let's talk about Elon Musk, okay? Would you think that Tesla would be that hype comparing to phenomenal Audi, phenomenal Porsche, that they're all, you know, electronic car, if it wasn't with this person, with this crazy visionary, with this crazy disruption ideas that is capable to execute? So maybe it sounds like, well, but it's Elon Musk. No, he also started with something, you know. I always say to my kids, you know, imagine you are the Elon Musk, you know, go crazy, go big, or don't do it at all. If you don't have a disruption, if you don't change something, just don't do it. I mean, the word, I mean, our CTO always said, we don't need another garbage data, you know, out there.
And also, I mean, just to build on Musk quickly, of course, it's not only about the product. You can argue as much as you want that an electric car is the future of everything. But one thing he did is that, for example, by creating open source access to their technology and their code and like all of these other things, and the way that they're building it is in itself also disruptive. So just to say, it's not even only the product, but it's also the execution, which is the next thing coming up here, that can in itself also be quite different.
But Ida, I would like to challenge that, okay? He's brilliant. He is someone that everyone puts money on. But let's go back for a second to attitude. Imagine if everyone talk about how he's beating his wife. You know, I mean, look how much it can reflect on the brand and on the company itself, which is coming back to, as you mentioned, as a person, who you are, put your face out there, because people get connected to the face, to the person, like Zuckerberg and Facebook, you know, all of it. It's, are you a dare leader? To be honest, are you a leader, or are you strong enough to lead a product, to lead a company, to lead a mission, to lead a vision, to lead an execution? I think that's the core question that you should ask yourself. And if you have the answers, your pitch will be amazing.
Exactly. So yeah, of course, there will be a point when you're pitching, and now we're specifically more focused on the kind of VC case here. But for sure,
the walk the talk.
I mean, if you don't have an actual view that's very concrete and very credible for how you're going to build this, then it really doesn't matter how good your story is or how good your vision is, because they won't believe that you are the one to build it. So,
but look what David just wrote, which is actually right. Not everyone's supposed to be like this. Yes, in all company, you have to have at least one or two like this. It's okay. So if you don't have this, if you say like, oh my God, it's not my game, just have another one in the team, co-founder, or even someone that you hire for this.
External CEO, for example, after a while, you know, someone who is not like Mali and David always wanting to shout. And we are both from Tel Aviv, that's the reason.
I'm learning a lot of cultural lessons.
Okay,
no,
so
but
walk the talk is clearly what we are talking about.
the thing is, though, even if you're not the stand at the rooftop CEO, you are still bringing things that speak to the credibility of the execution for this company. So, you know, the classic is that if anyone has a PhD, you just see on the team slide like PhD, so big, because it's all about like, no, we have a real understanding, we have a real grounding, we've been down this road before, maybe we have already worked in the industry in which we're now disrupting, so it makes sense why we're here. And it's all about that consistent narrative of why this industry, and what are the next steps looking for you in a way that makes it super crystal clear, where's this money going? And how are you going to implement that? So of course, it doesn't mean that every single question is answered, but it's about getting to that space of really coming across as you have it together and you're a team that can pull it together.
Agree.
So
That's
this
the
was a
best
lot
time, no?
In a very short amount of time.
So I think
Shoot us.
exactly
Any
like
questions?
that's the money time, you know. in like open the mic, please be unpolite, jump in and ask any question, because this is exactly what we wanted to build up into this point.
What do you want to know?
What do you want to know?
Or what are you struggling with is also another
I
question.
have a question about, okay, so you said let me check my notes 1 second. You know, so you provide the insight that when you first realize the problem, and then show them the vision of what it looks like when you solve the problem, right? How do you then kind of portray this vision to people who might not care, I guess? So like when in the context of pets, maybe people don't have pets, and how do you really connect them to feel that this vision will be something that benefits them or that really matters?
Well, I think on the one hand, in an investor room, one connection you just have to make is that it's going to be super valuable to the audience that you're targeting. So in that way, it's not actually about them. It's about if this solves a real problem that exists. But then another thing that's very important that I think you're really touching upon is like, how can you create some kind of emotional resonance, even if it's not their problem? And I think in your case, I mean, just this element of like separation, loneliness, burnout, overload, like all of the things that your community platform is helping people with. This is something that everyone in the startup world has experienced. It's just different. Or anyone who has a child, they know it, but it's just slightly different. And I even heard you say that someone has opened the pitch being like, who in here has a child? And then the investors are like, oh, well, me. And then you're already connecting to them on a personal level before you even start. So it's kind of about, in this way, being a psychologist in the sense of like, what is the universal human component of this vision? What is there in there that's not about the pets, but that's actually about this underlying theme that other people can relate to?
And Bailey, it's an iteration process. You know, you're learning by doing. You do a pitch, then you improve, and then you do again and again, and until you get the final pitch that you will find best. It will be best for a certain investor, but then again, another one will be for another investor. So study your investors before you pitch to them, just as well as they study you. You may not want to have every investor. You may want to choose your investor. If you are in that position, then you will be strong.
That's the best position, for sure.
Thanks, everyone.
And I will only say, like, if there are some people who really only care about the facts, because for some reason that's more like how their brain operates. But what I also have experienced is that humans are just humans. When we're being told a story, we just remember it better and we relate to it better. So it's sort of like a missed opportunity to cut it entirely. So just, yes, as David said, keep practicing and keep trying to bring in that universal component.
Anna, please go for it.
Yeah, I have a question. I hope the noise behind me does not interfere.
We hear you very well.
Okay. So basically, I had a question. So you've discussed about like mission, vision, what you should talk about in the presentation. But I was wondering, what happens in the investor's head while they're making the decision? You mentioned that it's like kind of a marriage, that the investor should like a person. Like, what are possible criteria that the investor is choosing someone to like to make a final decision? Like, what's the decision-making process?
When you're pitching to investors or to accelerators?
Yeah.
To
investors and probably also to accelerators, like probably both of them.
I mean, first of all, it's totally different, yes, because Mario, if you want to jump in also, please do. Because, for example, if you apply to accelerator that's not giving you, I would say not giving you money or equity, I would say it's not even strong enough, okay? You need to really define why you should go through it. But let's say accelerator that's giving you money, taking you to the next step, but not taking equity, they will dive into your potential quality, because their incentive is if you are a winner and you really make it to the next step, this is their success. If you pitch to an angel investor, you would like to dive into your product, market, vision, team, personality, because eventually every investor asking himself, why should I step into this startup? What value I'm bringing in to this one and not this one? I mean, how should I pick both of them? And most of it, if it's not the ego part, which, you know, let's put it aside because this is the wrong decision. It's the why should I, as Mali, stepping into your startup, because where I can take your product. I can open the door for you to other markets. I can help you with another fundraising. And these are the questions. And if you're a very strong founder, you even say, I picked you as an investor. I wrote you because I think that we would love to work with you because you have an amazing blah, 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 blah track record, that it will be definitely a huge value to our product, which means it's a strategic investment. On top of the capital, the person brings tons of value into your product. And this is the decision, yes or no. It has to be like both sides. But for a business angel, if it feels that you bring a lot of value into it, you will step in much faster into the product.
Maybe can answer that from the accelerator's point of view. So the most important, I think, is really that you match the criteria firsthand, and the second, or equally important, is that we see promise in you, so that you really have what it needs to be successful, so that we will see the team that you have the knowledge that potentially you become a founder or the startup gets founded successfully. But most important besides that is also, yeah, that the criteria you have to look for each accelerator. So they have different approaches. So we have the social impact, which means you don't need to be a unicorn. You don't need to be making profit very quick compared probably to investors. We more look like that you really have, that you make a benefit for society. And that might be one of the advantages also to go first with an accelerator, because you can kind of figure out if that is really working. You still can learn a lot during this process of being in the accelerator, pivot maybe even. And so there's a bit of a different approach from both sides, I would say.
Very well. Thank you so much, Mali and Mario. I actually also had one technical question about SIBB, SIBB application. If I may ask also like a question about Aufenthaltstitel in Germany early. So like it's also my case, like is it required to already have the visa, or would you like possibly it could be possible that after acceptance in the program that you get the visa, like how for like how would it work?
I'm not sure if I understood everything correct. I
Like,
think it's about a visa.
Yes. Is it necessary that during the application process until the final acceptance you already have the visa of the Constitution?
Ah, I see. Okay.
Or is it possible that, like for example, I would accept confirmation from you, and then I would apply for the visa, for example?
So if you have team members who don't have a visa yet, they can still apply. But at the program start, they should have a valuable visa. But we can talk about specific cases separately. Maybe we can even help you with the visa process. We have connection as well to Berlin partner who helped already some participants in the past with the visa process. So definitely reach out to me and we find a solution.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
And take it to a one-on-one consultation, because Anna, SIBB can really also support you with this and even give you like leverage when you apply for the visa. And Mario is right, the Berlin Senate is really supporting it. So if anything you need, we are also here.
So we've got another raised hand.
Yeah, Ilya, we'd love to hear you.
Yep, thanks. First of all, thanks a lot for all of this great information. So as I think already a lot of people mentioned that keys to success is practice, practice, and practice. So what I would like to ask, do you have some recommendations, suggestions how to practice, some pitch clubs, some maybe live pitches, events in preferably in Germany? Because when I was trying to find myself, I found a lot of such stuff, but like 95% of them are dead after beginning of COVID.
Wow.
So if you have some recommendations, some links, some information like pitch clubs in Berlin or surrounding area, or
Ilya,
in Germany in general, online. I'm in Hamburg.
Hamburg.
Yes.
Okay. Because we are having it, it's like at least twice in a month. So you can follow up, you know, the W launch. We have a lot of hybrid, I would call it, because since Corona, everything is hybrid on purpose. And we are running events that people are pitching to investors, to venture capitals. I mean, actually, in parallel to this right now, in the W Launch House, we have a Web3 panel of startups pitching to an investors. And then we have like 101 pitching to venture capitals. So it's always around. You just need to, as we said at the beginning, be attracted to the right network. So you're more than welcome to check that and to join a lot of things that we're doing regarding pitching and making all the mistakes, because at the moment you get to the investor that you really dream of, you have to be very strong.
Exactly.
I would also add, you know, I'm always trying to think strategically and break things down. And I think when you're practicing for pitch, you're not only practicing what you're going to say, as we said, you're kind of practicing all of these other things about your confidence in your presentation and all of these other things. So there might be some hidden opportunities around in your everyday life where you can practice other elements that relate to your pitch without necessarily just being in a room pitching. I mean, even just designing small challenges for yourself where you're really getting out of your comfort zone. I don't know if that's necessarily what you need to practice. Maybe you're feeling super strong in that, but I'm just saying there are tons of different ways that you're kind of indirectly also practicing your pitching skills, and these also matter. So think about it a little bit in a broader context too.
Yeah. And go without saying, SIBB itself, you know, there's a lot of pitching events, pitching to investors, pitching to mentors, going through pitching that with mentors. So also part of the program, you have a lot of access to a lot of feedback through pitching.
Yes, maybe here I can mention as well. Yeah, pitching maybe also to persons on an event helps you a lot. So you can, if you're in Berlin-Brandenburg region, you can just join any of the SIBB events we are having. So they are completely open. Talk to people, get connection. Yeah, test your pitch just to people directly. Doesn't need to be always on a stage. And you will see the feedback you are getting. If people get get what you want to tell them about your startup idea or whatever you want to pitch to them. So it really doesn't have to be always on a stage. I will also share the events we are planning in the SIBB, and you can just join any of them.
Put in an additional link. It's a pitch clinic. It used to be completely free. It's virtual. It's really great. That man is brutal. So which is good if you really want to practice and have
It's very much MIT style. I know the founder. They're
Yeah.
great. They're doing round tables for business angels, investors. So absolutely.
Any other
Any
questions?
questions?
Okay, thanks a lot. Let me go through all the links that you have sent.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Anyone else? Does anyone want to take this opportunity to pitch?
That's a good one. I mean, we have all kind of audience, right? I know the names. They're part of them already investing, part of them founders, part of them.
So yeah, let's try. Maybe I will try to pitch.
Wow.
Go for it. Go for it.
All right. Yeah. Thank you. So we started making Dhaba app, Dhaba POS. It's a point of sale reimagined basically for Generation Z. That should be valid for the next 5 to 10 years. What we are developing here in terms of technology, in terms of behavior. And we believe we have an MVP. The next thing is we try to achieve a product market fit. We are 3 founders, 2 in Germany, 1 outside of Germany. And we would welcome if more people would join, or maybe as a founder or vesting stocks. We also had some freelancers working for us. We are already on the App Store, so you can also install the application, take a look. Yeah.
Woohoo. Okay, well, first of all, thanks so much for taking the space. This is awesome, and this is in itself already brave. You're taking all the tips, so that's super.
Building your voice.
Yeah. Do you want some feedback?
Sorry?
Do you want some input?
Yes, indeed. I mean, it was a very informative session. I would really like the feedback, of course. Yeah.
Super. Well, I think one thing you said that really stood out to me is the sentence when you said, I believe we have an MVP.
Mm-hmm.
Do you or do you not have an MVP? This is where you're kind of like, we have an MVP. These are the next steps. It's going to be great because these and these team, whatever it's you're underpinning it with. I think it's such an easy thing that so many of us do, is just to add these small words that seem small, but that actually undermines what you're saying. You're saying,
Mm-hmm.
MVP, we're proud. This is the next step.
Yeah.
So make sure that you're fully clear on that, and that you can really stand for what the core message of your pitch is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What I would also love to hear is maybe like, how is the user experiencing your product?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's really mobile first only, you can say, and it's native as you would expect from any native application, basically. So it should work offline. It's not a web app. There is a lot of wannabe mobile apps which are actually web apps packed on the mobile. It's really what we have developed is a sort of native app. So it would work offline as well in circumstances when the restaurant is, for example, underground with very less internet connection or anything.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think what would be super helpful is the next time that you're talking to one of your actual users or your user testing, ask them, how does this make you feel?
Mm-hmm.
What does this mean to you? And then they will say something that you might not have expected about how it actually impacts them.
Mm-hmm.
Where you start your pitch.
Yeah, yeah.
Make sure you articulate the experience of your user, not only the features of your.
Mm-hmm. One very interesting finding which we had actually in the past 2 weeks is we found a company, a really established one, who are redoing their offering on the same principles and guidelines which we started like a year ago. and it's established company with 90 employees. And we are like 8 or 9 people on and off. So now we are sort of thinking, does it really make sense to pursue on our idea when we already know there is someone with 90 employees who's working on the same principles, solving the same problem, and have a real big corporate who's backing them?
But why it's giving you a doubt? If you think
Exactly.
if you think it's a copy paste, close what you're doing. If you think you bring a better value, your team is stronger, you can take it faster to the market. That's your value proposition. So
Yes.
genuine with yourself, why the competition is not threatening you.
I mean,
JS,
yes.
you should know that most successful companies that were startups once, they did not invent, they innovated. You take something on the market and you make it better. Your USP can be a 1 or 3 man or woman show and be better than the 90 people put together because you solve a problem that they could not. So don't be afraid. If you have that USP, if you have an innovation, I suggest you read the book of Gerd Feltin, Kopfschlipp Kapital, about T-Kampagne. It's a very interesting book. I really recommends you. And he just did not invent anything new. He just did something that others were selling Darjeeling very expensive, and he decided to sell to fewer people, larger amounts, went to India and got the manufacturer. It's an exciting book, and will tell you that forget 90 people or one.
Yeah.
Innovation.
I mean,
I would,
from my side,
yes.
It's like, first of all, if you don't have a competition, you don't have a market. It's a very bad sign if you don't have a competition. No investor will step in because probably there's no market, there's no buying. Second thing is, it just supposed to make you stronger. Because if you know your competition very well, it shows that you made a very good homework. So you can say, yes, they're doing this, but we can do it faster, better, bigger implementation, better UX. I don't know. I'm just kind of like giving you the added value. Even if I will give you right now an example for N26, and I hope you know what it is.
Yes.
It's a bullshit product. It's nothing. But they brought something that it's much more sexy than others. This is how they were super successful to acquire much more users and faster. You know, the speed was their actually KPIs and also the USP. So you have to think about, okay, I have a competition, a good one. How can I make it better? And again, it's the attitude, it's the vision, it's the storytelling, it's the team.
Thank you. Yeah, really appreciate on these words. Yeah, I also personally feel it's promising that we have identified such a big player who relates to the values and the problem which we observed and started on like almost a year ago with a small team. And yeah, but it's now like, even if we come up with a small USP, as soon as we are in the market, they could really take a look and distribute to their 250,000 existing customers who are observing at the moment a churn rate of maybe 25%. So they have this leverage, which we as a small team do not have.
Focus on yourself. When you come to competition, talk about them. Focus on yourself. Always say, killing it before it's coming up, you know? Because like I said, we are faster than our competition. We are better, we are smarter, we are blah, blah, blah. And at the end of the slide, they will ask you, hey, but there is a major competitor out there. But you remember what I mentioned? This is why we are stronger than they are. Like, kill it at the beginning because you push why you are better than the competition out there from the beginning of the pitch.
And also, I need to challenge you on this because what I said about not prioritizing the features, but prioritizing the brand and the emotion that you're also conveying to users. Molly said that N26 is a really good example of it. No one can compete with your brand. Your brand is an extension of you. It's an extension of how you see this company growing, what your vision is, what your mission is. No one can copy that. So you're already thinking so much about only the product and the features that you're forgetting what makes you unique. And I think once you feel really confident in that, of course, it's about the value proposition, and it can be competition and differentiators on principles and features and whatever. But when you really know yourself, I think the conversation that you're having with yourself is going to change. So maybe invest a little bit in really thinking about what you're doing is and what's unique about your vision. What was your insight that brought this company on? Because I'm sure it's not just about the product features or the technology, it's something bigger too.
Indeed, yes, yeah. No.
But also be careful, because I have a startup right now. They asked me last year to jump in to support them in different layer, potentially also to invest, and they're focusing on the products, like really focusing on the product. But to be honest, in the United States, they don't have any leverage, okay? Also in Asia, okay? So here they are quite unique, but this is not their market. They need it outside much more because it's a green tech. So the problem is that the CEO and the team fell in love with the product a bit too much. So you know what I told them? If you're not bringing CEO, I'm not there. Someone that think business, not think product, because at some point you lose the balance. So be careful that you too much focus on the product and the competition, but eventually if you are a better executor, you will win the run. You know, it's the run. Who is faster? Who is stronger? Who is bigger marketer into the market? That's the game, not necessarily only the product.
Great.
And JS, in your pitch, one slide should show what you are doing better than all the competitors. All, not some, all. And if you don't have such USP, then Mali is right. Go ahead and do something else.
One final mini piece of advice that's useful for anyone else to know. First thing I love about your background is that you have a background, and that you were thinking, I have a brand to show. It's here. The one thing that is going to help you is if you remove any moving elements, because when teaching, I was looking at these fancy graphs flying around, and I'm not sure I even heard all of the things I needed to hear because I was distracted. So
I see.
you need to have a brand element in there, and of course, brand is not only design, but it shows that you're thinking. Crazy because we don't want to be distracted.
I will.
Closing, just look at the time, and of course, please feel free to reach out to us, to reach out to Marion, to reach out to Ida, myself. Anyone has a question before we're giving Marion the stage to close up the session? Marion, the stage is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Mali and Ida. So great energy, super informative, and I think everybody enjoyed this event, this little workshop here. Also a little demo for the SIBB accelerator. So if you really enjoyed that, apply for the accelerator. You will get more support like that, also in person. And yeah, really was very short, even though it was what felt short, even though it was already more than 1.5 hours. So thank you so much, you both. And I think nothing to add here.
So we will add, we will send you an email with most of the information we talked about, and also how to reach out, how to apply, and definitely how to reach out to us. So I would like to say thank you, and thank you, Ida.
Thank you, Mali, and SIBB,
and SIBB, and all the great people that were here. And by the way, if you want to ask the good thing in the program, also Anne and Bailey were here. So feel free. Also, Anna, I see that you're here. So I will encourage you to reach out, because you both great ladies, and
sure.
And add us on LinkedIn. This is always the easiest platform I find. So just go ahead. You know, we're always there to have another conversation.
Yeah, and definitely, Ilya, there's all the links in the chat. Join session, join event. There are so much happening that I was really surprised that you're saying it's not enough, you know, but potentially we open a new door or a new window for you today as well.
Amazing.
Okay,
we're
guys.
all ready. Okay.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was great.
See you soon.
Ciao.
Thank you. Bye-bye.